Here's the thing about late-night visits. They never go the way you expect. And for Emily Hart, the moment she stepped onto his porch with his jacket folded in her arms, everything in her life shifted just a little. Emily hadn't planned to see him again that night. Not after the long community event they both attended. Not after she'd rushed home with his jacket still draped over her shoulders because he had insisted she wear it when the temperature dropped. But there she was, standing on his wooden steps, heart tapping lightly like she was about to confess a secret she didn't even understand yet. The street was quiet, the kind of quiet that makes every small sound feel louder than it should be. Even her soft breathing felt like it echoed. Daniel Reeves lived only a few blocks away, but for some reason, the walk to his house had felt longer. Not stressful, just slow, thoughtful, filled with strange warmth she didn't want to examine too closely. She lifted her hand and knocked gently. For a moment, nothing happened. Then she heard footsteps, slow ones, almost cautious, like he wasn't expecting anyone at this hour. The door opened. Daniel stood there in a simple gray t-shirt, hair slightly messy like he had just run his hand through it a few too many times. His eyes widened the second he saw her. Not annoyed, not confused, something else, something that made her chest tighten. "Emily," he said quietly, "it's late. Is everything okay?" She held out the jacket, trying not to sound as nervous as she felt. "I forgot to return this earlier. I didn't want you to think I misplaced it." He looked at the jacket, then looked at her again, slower this time. "You walked here just to bring it back?" Emily felt her cheeks warm. She hadn't thought about how it would look. She just knew she couldn't sleep with the jacket lying over her chair like it didn't belong to her. "I just thought you might need it," she said softly. "It felt wrong to keep it overnight." Daniel didn't take it right away. Instead, he stepped aside and said, "You must be cold. Come inside for a moment." She hesitated. It was late, and she didn't want him to misunderstand anything. But then she saw the concern in his eyes, genuine, gentle, the kind that made her forget the chilly air around her. So she stepped in. The house was warm, not just in temperature, in feeling. Soft lighting, a faint scent of cedar, and a calmness that wrapped around her like a blanket. Daniel closed the door behind her. "I'm glad you're here," he said quietly. The way he said it, like he'd been thinking about her since she left, sent a flutter through her chest. She tried to hand him the jacket again. "You should have this back." Instead of taking it, Daniel shook his head. "Emily, I didn't lend it to you because I needed it returned." He paused, searching for the right words. "I gave it to you because I didn't want you walking home cold." Her breath caught. It was a simple reason, yet it felt heavier, warmer, deeper. She finally lowered the jacket. "I just didn't want to trouble you." "You never trouble me," he said, and his voice was softer this time. "Actually, I'm surprised. I didn't think I'd see you again tonight." Emily shifted slightly, unsure what to do with the sudden emotional tension filling the room. "Should I have waited until morning?" she asked. Daniel shook his head again, quicker this time. "No, I'm glad it was tonight." His expression changed, not dramatic, not overwhelming, just honest. A look she hadn't expected. A look that made her heartbeat pick up in a way she couldn't hide. Before she could respond, he added quietly, "There's something I was hoping to tell you earlier, but I didn't get the chance." Emily blinked. "Tell me what?" Daniel took a slow breath, the kind people take before saying something meaningful. And just when he opened his mouth, his phone buzzed loudly on the table behind him. He froze, glanced at the screen, and whatever he saw made his entire expression shift. Emily felt her stomach drop. "Daniel, is everything okay?" He looked at her like he wasn't sure how to answer. Then he whispered, "Emily, I think you should sit down for this." Her heart tightened instantly, caught between fear and curiosity. Why would he say that? What could possibly be that serious? And why, of all moments, did it have to happen the second she returned his jacket? Sometimes the moments that feel the smallest end up revealing the truths we weren't ready to face, and Emily felt that truth closing in the second Daniel asked her to sit down. She lowered herself gently onto the edge of the couch. Her hands rested in her lap, fingers lightly intertwined, trying to stay steady even though her heart wasn't. Daniel stood a few steps away. Not pacing, not rushing, just still, like he was gathering the right words before setting them free. The soft lamp behind her cast a warm glow over the room, but the air between them felt tense. Not frightening, just full of the unknown. Finally, Daniel exhaled. "I'm sorry," he said, quietly, holding his phone loosely in his hand. "I didn't mean to worry you." Emily nodded slowly. "It's okay. What happened?" He hesitated, then placed his phone face down on the table, like he didn't want it interfering again. "That was my sister," he said. Emily felt a small wave of relief. Family, not danger, not an emergency, or at least she hoped not. "Is she all right?" she asked softly. Daniel ran a hand through his hair, a subtle sign she'd learned meant he was stressed. "She's fine," he said, "but she reminded me of something important, something I should have told you earlier." Emily's breath caught. Important? About what? She watched him walk toward the armchair across from her. He didn't sit back casually. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, eyes steady on hers. "Emily," he said, gently. "Before I say this, I need you to know I don't want to make you uncomfortable." Her heart warmed at that. He always thought of her feelings first. Always careful, always grounded. "You're not making me uncomfortable," she said softly. "Just tell me." Daniel nodded, swallowing hard. "You know how I gave you my jacket tonight?" His voice was calm, but she heard something deeper beneath it. Emily nodded. "I know it seemed like a small thing," he continued, "but it wasn't small to me. I've wanted to tell you for a while now that I care about you. More than I've let myself say." Her breath froze. Care about her? She felt the words land gently but deeply, the kind of confession spoken by someone who had thought long and carefully before saying it out loud. Daniel looked down for a moment, as if afraid she'd misread his intentions. "I didn't want you walking home cold because—" He paused again, searching her expression. "Because I think you deserve someone who notices the little things, someone who actually shows up, and I've wanted to be that person for you." Warmth spread across Emily's chest, slow, soft, almost overwhelming. She opened her mouth to respond, but something held her back. Not fear, not confusion, just emotion she wasn't fully ready to release without thinking. Daniel noticed her silence immediately. "If I should have said nothing, I understand," he added gently. "You don't have to feel the same way." "I just didn't want to keep pretending it was nothing." Emily lifted her gaze, meeting his eyes with surprising steadiness. "Daniel, I'm not upset," she whispered. "I just didn't expect that." He let out a quiet breath, one that sounded like a mixture of relief and uncertainty. Emily continued softly, "You're one of the kindest people I know, and everything you said, it wasn't uncomfortable, it was just surprising." A faint smile touched the corner of Daniel's mouth, not confident, not bold, just grateful. He sat back a little, as if a small weight had been lifted. "I wasn't going to say anything tonight," he admitted. "I thought you'd go home, and I'd just wait for another chance. But when you showed up at my door with my jacket, looking like you weren't supposed to be outside at this hour—" His smile warmed slightly. "It felt like a sign I shouldn't waste it." Emily felt her cheeks warming again. She couldn't deny something inside her had shifted the moment he opened the door earlier. A subtle spark she hadn't wanted to name too soon. "I'm glad you told me," she finally said. Daniel's smile grew just enough for her to see the softness in it, the hope. But before either of them could say anything more, a faint rumble echoed outside, low thunder rolling through the quiet street. Emily glanced toward the window. "I didn't know it would rain tonight." Daniel looked too. It wasn't supposed to, but weather changes fast around here. She nodded, but inside, a small worry formed. "It might get bad," she murmured. Daniel stood slowly. "If it does, you can stay here until it passes," he said. "I wouldn't let you walk home in a storm." Emily looked up at him, her heartbeat quickening again, not from fear, but from something far gentler. She was about to thank him, to say something sincere, something vulnerable, when a sudden, sharp knock hit the front door. Both of them froze. One knock, then another, firm, unfamiliar. Daniel's expression tightened, and Emily felt her pulse jump. At this hour? In this weather? Daniel looked toward the door, then back at her. "Emily," he said, quietly, "stay here for a moment." The uncertain note in his voice made her chest tighten again. Who could possibly be visiting him now? And why did he look suddenly uneasy? The doorbell rang next, long and urgent, and Emily's breath caught in her throat as Daniel stepped toward it. There's a certain kind of silence that takes over right before something unexpected happens, and Emily felt that silence pressing around her as Daniel walked toward the door. She stayed seated on the couch, just like he'd asked, but her hands tightened slightly, instinctively bracing for whatever was coming. Outside, the wind picked up, brushing against the windows with a soft, uneasy rhythm. The distant thunder rolled again, and that tense knocking still echoed in her mind. Daniel reached the door. He hesitated for a heartbeat, then opened it. Emily leaned forward just a little, not enough to intrude, but enough to hear the low voice from outside. "Daniel, finally," the person said. "I was hoping you'd still be awake." It was a man's voice, calm, but there was something strained beneath it. Daniel stepped halfway outside, blocking most of the view. Emily couldn't see who it was, but she could sense the tension in Daniel's shoulders. "What are you doing here?" Daniel asked quietly. The man replied in a low tone Emily couldn't fully catch, only fragments. "Didn't know who else. Got into something. Needed to talk." Daniel sighed softly, not frustrated, just worried. "All right," he said. "Come inside for a moment. It's about to storm." Emily straightened as Daniel held the door for the visitor. A man stepped in, around Daniel's age, maybe slightly younger. Dark hair, tired eyes, a jacket damp from the mist outside. He paused when he noticed Emily. "Oh," he said, surprised, "I didn't realize you had company." Emily gave a polite nod, offering a small, reassuring smile. "I'm sorry to interrupt," he added quickly. "I just really needed to talk to Daniel." Daniel closed the door behind him. "This is Emily," he said gently. "Emily, this is Aaron, my cousin." Aaron offered a quiet greeting. And while he looked calm on the surface, Emily sensed something unsettled beneath, like he was carrying a weight he hadn't shared yet. Daniel motioned for him to sit, but Aaron shook his head. "No, I won't stay long," he said. "I just need your advice. Something happened tonight, and I didn't know who else to turn to." Emily looked at Daniel, wondering if she should leave the room and give them privacy. But Daniel gave her a small glance, one that said she didn't have to go if she didn't want to. She stayed seated, respectful but present. Aaron took a slow breath. "I messed up," he said quietly. "I had an argument with someone I care about, someone I shouldn't have walked away from, and now I don't know how to fix it." Daniel's expression softened. "Did you talk to her?" he asked. Aaron shook his head. "She's upset, really upset, and I didn't handle it well. I said things I didn't mean." Emily listened quietly, her heart softening at the vulnerability in Aaron's voice. "What do you want to do now?" Daniel asked. "That's why I came," Aaron said. "I don't know. Should I show up and talk to her or give her space? I've never seen her this hurt." Daniel rubbed the back of his neck thoughtfully. "You know her better than anyone," he said. "What would make her feel respected?" Aaron hesitated. "I think she'd want honesty, not distance." Daniel nodded. "Then start with that," he said gently. "Tell her the truth. Tell her you regret how things happened. People can forgive a lot when they know you genuinely care." Aaron looked relieved, just a little. Emily felt something soften inside her too. This wasn't drama. This wasn't danger. It was simply life. Complicated, emotional, human. When Aaron finally exhaled, some of the tension in the room eased. "Thanks," he said quietly. "I shouldn't have shown up so late, but I didn't know where else to go." "You're family," Daniel said simply. "You can come to me any time." Aaron nodded, then turned to Emily with a gentle look. "I'm sorry if I interrupted anything." Emily shook her head. "It's all right," she said warmly. "Everyone needs someone to listen sometimes." Aaron gave a grateful smile. The storm outside finally broke, soft rain tapping against the windows, steady and calming. Daniel walked Aaron to the door. "Let me know how it goes," he said. "I will," Aaron replied. When the door closed again, Daniel turned back toward Emily. For a moment, neither spoke. The rain filled the silence. Then Daniel let out a soft breath. "I'm really sorry about that," he said. "I didn't expect him to show up tonight." Emily shook her head gently. "You don't have to apologize," she said. "You were helping someone who needed you." Daniel looked at her with an expression that made her heart warm again. Appreciation, tenderness, something deeper she still wasn't used to feeling from him. "I'm glad you stayed," he said quietly. Emily felt that soft warmth rise through her again. "I'm glad too," she whispered. But just as the room settled into something calm, something gentle, the power flickered. Once, twice. Then, with a soft click, the lights went out completely. Emily gasped softly in the sudden darkness. The rain grew louder. The room grew quieter. And she heard Daniel step closer, his voice steady but low. "Don't worry," he said gently. "I'm right here." But in the darkness, in the quiet, Emily felt something shift inside her again, something she didn't know how to name yet, and she wondered, what happens now? There's something about darkness. It doesn't just hide the room, it reveals the heart. And as the lights vanished around them, Emily felt every emotion sharpen in a way she wasn't prepared for. For a moment, the only sound was the soft rain tapping steadily against the windows, the kind of sound that makes everything feel closer, more intimate, more real. Emily's breath caught quietly in her chest. "Daniel," she whispered. "I'm right here," he answered, closer than she expected. She felt the faint brush of his hand find hers, not grabbing, not pulling, just making sure she wasn't lost in the dark. Emily didn't move away. She let his fingers rest gently against hers, warm and steady. "It's probably just the storm. The power lines in this area aren't great." Emily nodded, even though he couldn't see her. "I'm okay," she whispered. "Just wasn't expecting that." "I know," he said gently. "Let me find a flashlight." But his hand didn't leave hers. Not right away. Not until he felt her breathing relax again. Then he stepped away, and she heard him move carefully through the quiet room. Furniture creaked softly as he opened a drawer. A few seconds later, a small flashlight clicked on, casting a warm, narrow beam that pushed back the darkness. Daniel returned to her slowly, the soft glow lighting only a small circle around them. "You're safe," he said quietly. Emily felt her heartbeat settle, though not completely. There was something about the darkness, and about Daniel standing in it with her, that made the air feel different. He sat down beside her again, leaving enough space to be respectful, but close enough that she felt the comfort of his presence. For a moment, neither spoke. The flashlight rested on the coffee table, glowing upward like a small lantern. Then Daniel's voice broke the silence, gentle and thoughtful. "Emily, what I said earlier about caring for you," he paused, searching her expression in the dim light. "I didn't expect to say it tonight, and I don't want you to feel pressured to respond." Emily looked at him, really looked at him. The shadows softened his features, highlighting sincerity more than anything else. "You didn't pressure me," she said softly. "You were honest. That counts for a lot." Daniel nodded, relieved but still cautious. "I'm glad you think so." Emily hesitated for a breath. "Can I ask you something?" she whispered. "Of course." "When did you start feeling that way?" Daniel smiled faintly, like he already knew the answer, but didn't mind sharing it. "Honestly," he said, "a long time ago, before either of us realized it." Emily felt her chest warm. He continued quietly. "It wasn't one moment. It was little things. The way you talk to people, the way you notice things others miss, the way you make quiet spaces feel lighter." Emily looked down for a moment, touched more deeply than she expected. "Daniel, I didn't know," she whispered. "I didn't want to make things complicated for you," he said gently. "But when you showed up tonight, with my jacket, in the middle of the night, something about it felt different." Emily exhaled. "Different?" "Yes," Daniel said softly. "Like maybe I wasn't the only one thinking about the other person." Her cheeks warmed instantly. She opened her mouth to speak, to say something honest, something vulnerable. But before she could, a sudden rumble of thunder shook the window. Emily startled, leaning slightly toward him without thinking. Daniel reacted instantly, not pulling her close, but steadying her with a gentle hand on her shoulder. "It's all right," he whispered. "It'll pass." Emily didn't pull away. She felt safe there, more than she expected, and Daniel seemed just as unsure of what to do next as she was. He finally spoke again, voice low. "Emily, if you want to wait until the storm ends, you can. I don't want you walking home in this." She nodded slowly. "Thank you," she whispered. Then she hesitated. "Daniel, what were you going to say earlier, before your phone rang?" He looked down, running a thumb across his palm, a sign he was choosing his words carefully. "I was going to tell you something I've never told anyone," he said softly. "Something I didn't want to say at the wrong moment." Emily's heartbeat quickened. "What is it?" Daniel lifted his gaze. But before he could answer, a bright flash lit the entire room, lightning striking somewhere close. The flashlight flickered. And the thunder that followed was so loud it rattled the floor beneath them. Emily flinched hard. And this time, Daniel moved without hesitation. He wrapped an arm gently around her shoulders, protective, steady, careful, guiding her closer so she wouldn't feel so alone in the sudden burst of noise. "You're all right," he murmured. In the dimness, in the closeness, in the warmth of his touch, Emily felt something inside her shift again, something she couldn't deny anymore. When the thunder faded, she slowly looked up at him. Daniel looked back, eyes steady, voice soft. "Emily, there's something I need to be honest about." Her breath caught. She felt the moment changing. becoming something deeper, something neither of them could take back once spoken. "What is it?" she whispered. Daniel hesitated, then parted his lips to speak. But outside, faint but growing, came the sound of someone running up to the porch. Fast, urgent, unmistakable. Another knock hit the door. Emily froze. Daniel's arm dropped slowly back to his side, and his expression shifted, not frightened, but surprised. In the storm's dim rumble, another voice called from outside, a familiar voice. "Daniel, are you home? Please, I need to talk to you." Emily felt her heart stop. She knew that voice, and Daniel did too. The truth has a way of arriving at the worst possible moment, and when Emily heard that familiar voice calling from the porch, her breath froze in her chest. Daniel stood slowly, not panicked, not angry, just caught off guard in a way she had never seen before. The rain hammered harder against the windows, making the voice outside sound even more urgent. "Daniel, please, I really need to talk to you." Emily knew who it was. She didn't want to assume, but she felt it in her stomach before the door even opened. Daniel glanced at Emily gently. "I'm not sure why she's here," he said softly, "but I need to answer. Stay right here, okay?" Emily nodded, though her heart thudded a little harder. Daniel stepped toward the door. The flashlight cast a faint glow across his back as he unlocked it and pulled it open. Standing on the porch, soaked from the rain, was Lily Bennett, a longtime friend of Daniel's, someone Emily had seen many times before, always smiling, always confident, but tonight Lily looked shaken, her eyes red like she had been crying. "Daniel," Lily breathed out, "I'm so sorry for showing up like this, but I didn't know where else to go." Daniel stepped aside, motioning her in. "You're freezing," he said gently. "Come inside." Lily stumbled in, arms wrapped around herself. Her clothes were drenched, her hair clinging to her cheeks. She looked emotionally exhausted. Only then did Lily notice Emily sitting on the couch. Her expression shifted, not angry, not startled, just surprised. "Oh, Emily," Lily whispered. "I didn't know you were here." Emily offered a small, polite smile, though her heart was still unsettled from the timing of it all. "Hi, Lily," she said softly. Daniel handed Lily a dry towel. "What happened?" he asked. Lily pressed the towel to her face, blinking back tears. "It's my fault," she said quietly. "I made a mistake tonight, and I hurt someone I care about." Emily exchanged a quick look with Daniel, both thinking of Aaron, who had shown up earlier. But Lily shook her head slowly. "No, not Aaron," she whispered. "Someone else." Daniel's expression softened, patient and steady. "You can tell us," he said. "You're safe here." Lily closed her eyes, steadied her breathing, then spoke. "I said something to someone I shouldn't have, someone who trusted me. I was upset, and I took it out on the wrong person." Her voice trembled. "And now I'm afraid I ruined it." Emily listened, her own heart tightening with sympathy. Whatever happened, Lily clearly didn't come to cause problems. She came because she was hurting. Daniel stepped closer, keeping his voice gentle. "Did you talk to them?" he asked. "No," Lily whispered. "I panicked. I left before I could fix it." She wiped her eyes again, trying to breathe steadily. Then she looked up at Daniel, not in a longing way, not in a complicated way, but in a way that made it clear she trusted him deeply. "I didn't come here to make anything harder for you," she said. "I just didn't know who else to turn to." Daniel nodded. "You did the right thing coming here," he said. "Nobody should deal with something like that alone." Emily could feel the sincerity in his voice, the kindness that made people rely on him again and again. But Lily's next words shifted everything. "I didn't just hurt someone," she said quietly. "I hurt myself, too. I said something I didn't mean to someone who means a lot to me." Her voice cracked on the last few words, and she looked away in embarrassment. Daniel's brows softened. "Then the best thing you can do is be honest," he said. "Tell them how you really feel. People can forgive a lot when they hear the truth." Lily nodded slowly, and then her gaze flicked back to Emily. "Emily," she asked gently, "have you ever said something you regretted before you had a chance to explain?" Emily felt her heart soften. "Yes," she said quietly, "I think everyone has. But the important thing is trying to make it right." Lily swallowed hard, then whispered, "I hope you both are right." Daniel placed a comforting hand on Lily's shoulder. "You're stronger than you think," he said softly, "and you have people who care about you." Lily nodded, letting the support settle into her. After a few moments, Lily took a deep breath. "I think I'm ready to go talk to her," she said. "I don't want to lose someone I care about because I let fear make my decisions." Daniel smiled gently. "That's the right choice." Lily turned to Emily with a soft, grateful expression. "Thank you," she said, "for not making me feel out of place." Emily smiled warmly. "You're not out of place," she said. "You just needed someone to listen." Lily hesitated, then stepped forward, and hugged Emily briefly, a gesture of genuine appreciation. When she pulled back, she nodded to Daniel. "I'll go fix this," she said. "Thank you, both of you." Daniel walked her to the door, making sure she was safe under the small porch roof before she ran back into the rain. The door closed behind her gently. The house fell quiet again, except for the rain and the soft echo of everything left unsaid between Emily and Daniel. Daniel turned back toward her, the dim flashlight glow catching the worry in his eyes. "I'm sorry about all of that," he said softly. "Tonight didn't go the way I thought it would." Emily shook her head. "You don't have to apologize. You helped people who needed you." Daniel stepped closer, only a little. "I meant what I said earlier," he whispered. "None of this changes how I feel." Emily met his eyes. "And none of it changes how I feel either." Daniel froze lightly, eyes widening. "You feel?" he began softly. Emily nodded, her voice warm and steady. "Yes," she whispered, "I care about you too." For the first time that night, a calm, genuine smile spread across Daniel's face. The storm outside softened into a gentle rain, quiet, steady, peaceful. Daniel reached out, but carefully, respectfully. "Emily," he said softly, "can I—" Emily took a slow breath and nodded. He didn't pull her into an embrace. He didn't rush anything. He simply took her hand, gently, warmly, like a promise without words. And in the dim glow of the fading storm, they sat together in quiet understanding. Two people who finally admitted what their hearts had known for a long time. Their moment wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It was something softer, something honest, something real. And for Emily, it was enough. The end.